Put your hand on the first rung. It's at your knee, cold steel, nothing special. The last rung is 384,000 kilometers above your head, and somewhere along the way, there is a single rung where up becomes down, where climbing stops being climbing. If you're still holding on when you cross it, you don't climb the rest of the way to the moon. You fall to it. We'll get to that rung. But first, you have to survive the boring part. Let's build the stupid version. A normal ladder, aluminum, rungs 30 centimeters apart, like the one in your garage. To reach the moon, you'd need 1.28 billion rungs. Climb one rung every second. No sleeping, no stopping, no eating. You'd arrive in 40 years. You'd be a different person at the top, assuming you were a person at all. But here's the thing. Time is not what kills you. You never get anywhere near 40 years. Because this ladder collapses before you climb higher than a hill. Here's why. A ladder standing on the ground is a compression structure. Every rung has to carry the weight of every rung above it. Stack steel high enough and the steel at the bottom simply crushes. Do the math on structural steel and you get a hard ceiling around 3,200 meters. 3 kilometers, roughly 4 times the tallest building on Earth. And that's for a solid column. A ladder is worse, much worse. Long, thin things don't crush. They buckle. They fold sideways like a drinking straw. Your moon ladder would go slack and topple somewhere in the first few hundred meters. You'd fall off it before you cleared the clouds. So the naive version is dead. Compression is a losing game. But there's a loophole, and engineers have been quietly obsessed with it since 1895. That year, a Russian schoolteacher named Konstantin Tsiolkovsky stood at the base of the Eiffel Tower and asked a dangerous question. What if you just kept going? Because gravity is not a constant. It thins out as you rise. And there's a specific altitude where something extraordinary happens. 35,786 kilometers up, an object circling Earth takes exactly 24 hours to go around. Exactly as long as the ground beneath it takes to spin. So it never moves. It hangs. Get material above that line and it doesn't press down anymore. It pulls up, which changes everything. Your structure is no longer a tower. It's a rope, hanging from the sky, held taut by the earth, trying to fling it away. That's the trick. Compression kills you, tension saves you. But hang a rope from Earth's sky and something worse than weight comes for it. Something with a 27-day rhythm. Here it is. The Earth spins once every 24 hours. The moon orbits us once every 27.3 days. Now anchor your ladder to the ground and to the moon. Watch what happens. The bottom end whips around the planet. The top end barely creeps forward. 27 times per lunar month, the ground laps the moon. Your ladder doesn't stretch. It doesn't sway. It winds around the Earth like thread onto a spool. Layer over layer tightening until the whole thing shears apart and comes down across a continent. You cannot tie the Earth to the moon. The Earth is spinning too fast to be tied to anything. So you flip the entire problem upside down. You stop building it from here. Look up at the moon tonight, then look tomorrow, and in a year, you will never once see the far side. The moon is tidally locked, one face, permanently aimed at us, forever. Which means a line dropped from the near side toward Earth doesn't wind around anything. It just hangs there, pointed at us, indefinitely. And lunar gravity is 1/6 of ours. Suddenly, the numbers stop being science fiction. Drop a tether from the moon's near side, and it falls toward the balance point, about 60,000 kilometers above the lunar surface, where the moon's pull hands you over to Earth's. Past that point, Earth takes the weight and pulls the tether tight. You don't need carbon nanotubes. You don't need unobtainium. You could build this with fiber that already exists. Xylon, Kevlar, things you can order. A cable roughly the thickness of a pencil lead, a few dozen tons of material. That is a handful of heavy lift launches. This is not a thought experiment. An engineer named Jerome Pearson sketched it out in 1979. 2 astrophysicists published a full modern design in 2019 and called it the space line. So the obvious question, why isn't it up there right now? And the answer has nothing to do with strength. It's dust. The moon has no atmosphere. Nothing burns up on the way in. Micrometeoroids, grains smaller than sand, arrive at 20 kilometers per second, fast enough that a speck the size of a period punches through solid metal. A single-strand cable stretched across 60,000 kilometers of open space is a target that cannot dodge. Run the numbers and it gets cut, not in centuries, in years. So you don't build a cable, you build a net. Thousands of thin strands woven with crosslinks, so a severed thread reroutes its load around the hole, and the structure heals itself. The ladder has to be a living thing, constantly inspected, constantly repaired. And it has to grow, because the moon is leaving. Every year, it drifts 3.8 centimeters farther away. It always has. Your ladder must lengthen by about the thickness of a sheet of paper, every single day. Forever. Or it snaps. Solve all of that, the dust, the drift, the weaving, and you're still left with one flaw. You can see it from where you're standing. The ladder does not reach the ground. It can't. Anything dangling into Earth's spin gets torn away. So the bottom rung has to stop short, tens of thousands of kilometers above your head. Which means the ladder to the moon begins in orbit. You still need a rocket to reach the first step. But say you get there. Say you're hanging in the dark with your hands on rung number 1. Now the climb starts, and the climb is trying to kill you. The first hazard is invisible. Above you sit the Van Allen belts, vast donuts of charged particles trapped in Earth's magnetic field, stretching from 1,000 kilometers out to 60,000. Apollo punched through them in under an hour on a trajectory chosen specifically to clip the thin edge. You are climbing. You'd be inside them for days, possibly weeks. Then the temperature. In sunlight, your rungs bake past 100 degrees Celsius. In Earth shadow, they drop toward minus 150. You are gripping metal that swings 250 degrees over and over every time you cross the terminator. But keep going, because you're approaching the rung I told you about at the start. 60,000 kilometers beneath the moon, roughly 5/6 of the way from here to there. You reach for the next rung and your body tells you something has broken. Because below this line, Earth is pulling you back. Above it, the moon is pulling you forward. At that exact rung, you weigh nothing at all. Neither world owns you. And then you cross, and the ladder inverts. Everything above you is now below you. You have not stopped climbing, but you are now climbing down, descending hand over hand into a gray stone valley that has been hanging over your head your whole life. The moon is no longer a destination. It's the floor. So, one last thing. What happens if you let go? Not up here, down there, halfway, below the line, where Earth still owns you. You don't drop. Not the way you're imagining. You've been drifting sideways with the ladder, so you fall in a long, lazy arc, a curve so wide it doesn't look like falling at all. For the first hour, you'd swear nothing was happening. For the first day, Earth barely grows. It takes nearly 5 days to come home. 5 days of watching a blue circle slowly become a wall. And when you finally touch the atmosphere, gravity has been pulling on you the entire time. And it has been generous. You arrive at 11 kilometers per second, which is fast enough that the air itself catches fire. Somebody on the ground looks up that night and sees a streak, and makes a wish. That's the real answer. You cannot build a ladder to the moon. You can only hang one from it. The moon was never the top of the ladder. It's the hook. We're what dangles.